call to order the regular meeting of the McAllister City Council, Tuesday, July 14th. We do have a quorum. Councilwoman Harrison, for one last time, would you lead us in the
I would be delighted.
invocation and pledge?
Right. Those of you that are able to stand, if you could please stand. Let's do our invocation first. Our Heavenly Father, once again we come before you giving you praise, glory, and honor, thanking you for your goodness, your mercy, and your love. And Father, I ask you right now to give your divine wisdom and knowledge and understanding, that it be imparted to this city council, Father, that they make decisions that are pleasing in your sight and that will be beneficial to the citizens of the city of McAllister. Father, please remember those that are seeking employment, those that need to be employed, those that are dealing with the virus, Lord, that decisions will be made that will honor you and that will be healthy, and so that this city will prosper. Lest we forget, Father, please remember all those who are taking governmental positions, whether they be local, county, city, state, or even international and beyond. Lord, I thank you for those who have been elected, Father, that they have wisdom and knowledge on what to do on every level too. And Lord, we'll just be mindful to give you the praise. I thank you for an opportunity to have served the city of McAllister. And so, Father, I thank you that it is well. It is well with my soul, and it is well with the city of McAllister. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Amen.
All right, are we ready for the pledge? All right. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to
I
the
pledge
flag of the
to the
United
flag
States of
of
America,
the United States of America
republic for which it stands,
and to the republic
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hard to talk with this man.
Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Here.
Stevens,
here,
Cox,
here,
Brown,
here,
Harrison,
Here.
Pritchard,
here.
Mayor.
Here. We are on to the swearing-in ceremony. Judge Deborah Hackler will administer the oath of office to the newly elected council members. The first will be Ward 1, Weldon Smith.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Weldon Smith,
I, Weldon Smith,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and that I will not
that I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable things
for the performance
for the performance
or
or
non-performance
non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation
other than the compensation
allowed by law.
allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
that I will faithfully discharge my duties
as Ward 1 Councilman
as Ward 1 Councilman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, Judge.
Wonderful. You're very welcome. Thank you.
BJ? I'm gonna let Councilwoman Harrison say her last while she's still in office.
Oh, okay. May I go over there or do I?
Yes, you may.
Oh, thank you. Try not to lean on things. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank you, Mayor, and the council for giving me an opportunity to say farewell to everyone. And I would like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave me an opportunity to serve. I give him honor first. And I would also like to acknowledge my daughter Shalandra and my grandson Bentley. It was because of their encouragement that I even applied. They really thought that I could do things for the community, because I had been doing a lot of volunteer work anyway, and they thought this would be a greater opportunity to serve not only Ward 5, but also the citizens of McAllister. My daughter Monica, who lives in another state, but she's always been encouraging. I would also like to, can you hear me? Loud now. All right, my family, relatives, and friends far and near for their support. And I especially want to thank the Ward 5 residents and businesses, McAllister Public Schools, and the citizens of McAllister for their gracious appreciation for my service. I would like to thank City Manager Mr. Stasiak, the city employees, for all the help that they have given me, and I especially want to thank Coral Middleton for the city proclamations. We got together and had to come up with some things pretty speedily, so thank you for that. I would like to thank the McAllister News Capital for the detailed accounts that they give on the meetings for the public. Also, all the people that I've invited, whether they were citizens or organizations who took time to come to the city council meetings before the epidemic. I'm really grateful for that. And I especially want to thank Mayor Brown, the city councilors, including Travis Reed, who was from 3rd Ward before, for giving me an opportunity to serve on the city council. I would like to congratulate incoming Ward 5 City Councilor, Mr. Boatwright, and also Mr. Brian Smith for seeking to run for office. You did a great job in keeping a clean campaign. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna take my sign to the Old Town Road.
Got to come in the middle, get your picture taken.
I like to have fun in between all the serious stuff.
This is for you, for your service to the city of McAllister.
Oh, thank you so much. This is beautiful.
And it's certainly been my pleasure to work with you, and
Oh, well, thank you.
and I truly hope that you continue to stay involved in things as time goes on. And like I said, you've got to send me your actual email now instead of your old city email.
I
so that
remember
can
you
stay-
said that.
so it can stay.
I will send it. Okay. And I will take Weldon Smith's telephone call too. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you ready? Ready, Mr. Boatwright?
Ready? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Billy Jack Boatwright,
I, Billy Jack Boatwright,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support
obey, and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma.
and that I will not
I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable things
for the performance
for the performance
or non-performance
or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation
other than the compensation
allowed by law.
allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
my duties
my duties
as Ward 5 Councilman
as Ward 5 Councilman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You want to give that to Cora?
Yeah. Consider spin off.
All right, to give each of you a chance, if you have anything you want to say before we get started, as far as coming back on. Well, BJ, you got nothing? No? Okay. Weldon?
I want to thank everybody who voted a couple of weeks ago, particularly those in Ward 1 that voted for me. I will continue to try to do my best to represent Ward 1 and the city of McAllister as a whole continue its progress. I guess my first goal, I'd like to see us adopt a 5-year strategic plan by the end of 2020. It's a little different than a comprehensive plan. I don't think we need to pay a lot of money to a consulting firm to get it. I have confidence that our city council is able to write something that we can use. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody again. Thanks.
Okay, we are up to recognition and awards, and, excuse me? The Employee of the Month for May 2020 is Sherry Swing. Sherry was originally hired as a gardener too in the Parks Department, but due to COVID-19, she was reassigned temporarily to sanitize the Carl Albert building, also known as the Police Department. She is at work every day, wiping down doorknobs, computers, countertops, mopping the floors, and other cleaning duties to see that the employees' work areas are the cleanest they can be to help stop the spread of the virus. Sherry always has a smile on her face and has the best attitude. Sherry is supposed to work during the weekdays, but volunteered to take off early during the week so that she can come back on weekends to sanitize the police officers' room, since officers are on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sherry said she wanted to clean rooms on the weekend because she did not want officers to get sick. She always asks what else can be done before she leaves for the day. For these reasons, we concur that Sherry Swing has gone above and beyond her duties and is most deserving of this award. So Sherry, if you would come down, we've got a couple things for you. And of course, you have to have the picture too. First of all, we have the certificate of Employee of the Month. This is the one where we can have a handshake picture.
Okay.
I'm smiling.
Small little water.
Yeah. You get that. I get a portfolio and also a little plaque commemorating it, and I've known you for quite a long time, and it's really great that you got this. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now you have to check in. Move on.
Thank you for the word, Sherry. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you.
I tell you, this is a new mask, and it is extremely difficult to read. It's fogging up my glasses just on a single breath. So if I'm doing this the entire time, it's not a spasm. So we're on to citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Residents may address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda. Excuse me, on the agenda. Residents must provide their name and address. Council requests that comments be limited to 5 minutes. I do have 2 sign-ups, but I think they're for a specific agenda item. Mr. Titsworth, are you wanting to speak on the agenda item or just comment?
I don't know whether it's on the agenda or not, I guess just comment.
Okay, then you're up.
I haven't seen the agenda, so I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
sure. John Tidsworth, 1010 Douglas, McAllister, Oklahoma. Some numbers that y'all might use for information going forward. These numbers come from the CDC. They're published every day. I've been tracking these going along. For the city of McAllister, from the beginning, 52 cases total. That's 5 months. 3 deaths, and there are currently 6 active COVID cases in the city of McAllister. So there's some numbers that haven't changed really in a few days. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. I'm on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. We had an open meeting last month and going forward, and there was a lot of people there. So, and Oklahoma City, I guess y'all know, is one of the highest numbers in the state. Tulsa is also high. I know someone personally that tested positive in Tulsa, came back to McAllister, tested twice, tested their kids, everybody else, they were all negative. So I don't think anybody is tracking false positives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Dr. Tedesco, you wanted to speak on the agenda item? Is that correct?
Yeah, I can wait till the agenda.
Okay, great. In that case, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. The agenda tonight consists of A, approval of minutes from the June 23rd, 2020 regular meeting of the McAllister City Council. B, approval of claims for June 13th, 2020 through July 7, 2020. C, consider and act upon acceptance of a bid from Ideal Cleaning in the amount of $3,000 per month to provide cleaning services to the City of McAllister buildings. D, concur with the mayor's appointment of Ann Walker, 816 North 6th, to the Ethics Board for a term to expire February 2024. E, consider and act upon approval to enter into a contract with Mustang Equipment Leasing for a copier lease for one copier of the City Tourism's office. Would anyone like anything removed? In that case, I take a motion and a second to approve the consent order. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Is there any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yep.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're now on to public hearing. All persons interested in any ordinance listed under scheduled business shall have an opportunity to be heard in accordance with Article 2, Section 212B of the city charter. We have two tonight. The first is an ordinance amending Chapter 94, Streets, Sidewalks, and Other Public Places of the McAllister City Code, Article 2, Division 1, Section 94-35, permit for installation of drainage structures and street ditches, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Finance, Division 4, Cost Sharing Policy for Public Works Projects, Section 2-440, Storm Drains and Culverts, repealing all conflicting ordinances and providing for severability. And the second is an ordinance of the City of McAllister, Oklahoma, amending ordinance number 2656, which established the budget for fiscal year 2019-20, repealing all conflicting ordinances and providing for a severability clause and declaring it an emergency. We need a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, so we're now in a public hearing. If anyone would like to address the ordinance on Chapter 94, come forward. Seeing no one, if anyone would like to address the ordinance on the city budget, come forward. Seeing no one, I'll take a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. We're now on to agenda item number 1, discussion and update on the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the city of McAllister. I'm going to start with just a little bit of information that I've been keeping track of from, these are 2-week periods. The first one beginning on May 23rd and running to June 9th. Our average new cases per day were 78.5. The high number of cases during that period was 158 on June 8th. From June 10th to June 23rd, we went up to 287.5 new cases per day with a high of 482 on June 23rd. From June 24th to July 7th, we were up to 455.9 new cases per day, with a high of 858 on the 6th. And in the 6 days since then, we are averaging 640 per day, with a high today. And if you notice, all of those highs are coming at the end of those 2-week periods, so it's definitely going up all the way through the 2-week period. There's no outliers in it that are causing that. In Pittsburgh County, in May 14th, we had 39 cases. On June 14th, we had 43. On July 14th, we had 81. So we've more than doubled in 2 months, and nearly doubled in 1 month. United States cases that have had an outcome are 1,551,841. Of those, 138,598 resulted in death, which comes out to an 8% rate of cases with an outcome. It's an 8% death rate U.S. In Oklahoma, the cases that have an outcome is 7,063 with 428 fatalities, which comes out to a 2.5%. So just as an example, if these numbers were held true with today's amount of 993 new cases, and the potential number of deaths would be just on today's, with using 2.5%, that would be 24.8 people would die out of that 993. And using the 8% from the U.S., that would be 79.4 people would die. So clearly the numbers are growing at a very rapid pace, and our current method is not working. We have to look at some other ways to avoid potentially having to close our economy again in the future. And the most effective, least intrusive way to do this is source control. And source control involves wearing a mask, which limits the amount an infected person spreads the virus. It does this by retaining droplets from sneezes and coughs within the mask. Look at it this way. When a doctor does surgery on you and is wearing a mask, it's not to keep you from infecting him, it's to keep him from infecting you. So it affects transmission. It's not necessarily so much reception. In addition to that, though, it also may possibly lower the viral load coming through the mask from someone else that is transmitting it. And the wearing of masks, along with social distancing and hygiene, in studies has shown that the transmission of the virus is up to 10 times lower in countries where masks are required. And experts within the president's administration, along with experts, all favor wearing masks. Dr. Fauci says it isn't 100% protection, but certainly the amount you get is worth wearing it. Admiral Giroir, who is on the White House Corona Task Force and is a pediatric surgeon, there's no downside to wearing a mask, and he further states that it is really essential to wear a mask for this whole thing to work. Dr. Birx, we believe in the uniform of masks in all metro and all areas of rising new infections. The CDC advises that everyone should wear a cloth face cover when they go out in public. The Mayo Clinic requires masks anywhere on their campus. And even Texas Governor Greg Abbott, medical studies have shown that wearing a face covering slows the spread of COVID-19 and it protects you and your family. And we cannot afford to put ourselves in the situation of closing our economy. We must also help protect those workers who interact with the public on a daily basis. The effort of wearing a mask in public is minimal when compared to the benefit it will provide, and also to prevent any future unnecessary closing of our economy. And every single medical professional that I have spoken to about this recommends wearing masks anytime out in public. And we have a number of people here today to talk to us about this. So I'll start with the hospital. Who would like to go first? How about this? I'll let Dr. Tedesco go first since he's on the phone.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay, or do I need to speak up or speak down?
Sound good.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
You can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
great. Yeah. I think that you said it very well, Mayor. I think that's very appropriate. The way I see it, our health system here in McAlester is not totally strained and overwhelmed right now, but a lot of adjacent communities are. I have friends that work in Tulsa, and they are at their end of their rope with capacity. I spoke to some friends in Tahlequah, and they've shut down elective surgeries. We know that Dallas has shut down elective surgeries, and if we can't wear our masks, socially distant, and avoid gatherings, we're going to be next. So I completely support the plan that we need to get better as a community at wearing our masks, staying socially distant, and avoiding gatherings.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kim Stout, and I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at McAllister Regional Health Center. I've been leading our incident command at our hospital since approximately March the 12th, and Dr. Roloff, I brought him with me tonight. He has served us on incident command as time has allowed him to, but he's also one of our excellent hospitalists that's been treating some of these patients that we have in our facility. So I'm going to let Dr. Roloff speak to you as well.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me. So just to echo, the masks are not to protect me from you. It's 100% to protect you from me. Me as an individual, not just a doctor, going out in the community, I am cognizant of wearing my mask because I'm constantly in contact with COVID patients, and these patients are not just your person coming in with the flu. They're not the person coming in with pneumonia. They're people who are completely hypoxic, meaning that they're not getting enough oxygen, and they may not even know it. You could have someone come in completely asymptomatic, they stub their toe, but then they have a cough, you test them, they're positive for COVID, and their oxygen 76%, and they're showing no other symptoms. And then you bring them into the hospital to try and get their oxygen up, and the symptoms plume. And then you have the other patients who come in with the severe respiratory distress. They're on ventilators for not just the 3 to 5 days that you would normally encounter with a pneumonia or any other sort of respiratory distress. They're on the vent for 14 days, 17 days. They're getting tracheostomies where you're getting a tube put into your neck because you can't be on the ventilator that long with the tube through your vocal cords. It's a very, very serious disease. And so making sure that we do our part as citizens to try and prevent that spread by putting on a mask seems like a very logical and a very non-intrusive thing for us to do to better our community and take our part and our responsibility in preventing this spread. It's not going to be going away. Coronavirus is going to be here. It's going to be circulating throughout our country and throughout the world for probably years to come. It's about trying to limit that spread and limit the strain on our healthcare as a whole. We've done a great job of that. Oklahoma is doing great. We're like 31st in the nation when it comes to cases. Pittsburgh County is way down on the list when it comes to our cases, but they're climbing. We are doing such a good job that we're voluntarily bringing people in from other counties who are struggling and trying to offload the strain on their healthcare systems. But in order to continue to be able to hold that high kind of pinnacle of health, we need to continue to do our part as an outpatient and outside of the hospital as well as within.
Just one thing, this should go without saying, but I hear it often. COVID-19 is nothing at all like influenza as far as serious health effects, correct?
Correct. This is what they call a novel virus. So we've seen stuff in the family of coronavirus, but nothing as viral or contagious as this. It's causing a lot more drastic symptoms, and people are being affected way more than influenza itself. And you can have both at the same time, which is going to be catastrophic come this winter break. And so that's something else that we really need to prepare for is there are going to be a lot of people who are already going to be getting coronavirus and then having flu on top of it, and then you throw on a pneumonia, and that's going to be very straining.
Any questions or comments?
If this lasts for years, how long would you suggest wearing masks? What's the trigger to not wear masks?
That's a difficult thing for me to say personally. I have not done specific studies on masks, and I don't know statistics. But when it comes to how long, I think if we want to look for that answer, we need to turn to the countries that have done it. Korea, Japan, China, they've instituted masks before and had success, but when it comes to the duration, I'm not sure. It's still out whether or not antibodies actually help prevent or decrease the symptoms from coronavirus. If in due time it proves that that happens, then yeah, your reaction to coronavirus is going to go down and masks probably won't be necessary at that time. But at this point in time, I guess wearing a mask and not necessarily having to would be better than not wearing a mask and finding out that you should have.
But you're telling us that you wear your mask only to prevent others from getting the infection
Correct.
in the hospital? Please. You're working with people that are infected, and you're not wearing your mask to prevent that?
Well-
Getting infected yourself?
Sorry, could you please restate that?
Well, you stated a while ago that hospital workers are wearing their masks to prevent their patients from becoming infected. I'm proposing that you're wearing your mask to keep from getting infected by your patients who have it.
If I was wearing an N95 or an N100 or a KN95, then yes, I'd be wearing that to protect myself. This is a cloth mask. I'm not protecting myself from you or any of the other council members.
That's not what I read. I read that cloth masks are also a little effective at preventing little droplets from getting in your system.
It would be effective if, say, you were wearing a mask right now speaking with me to help protect the droplets from leaving your mouth. When it comes to them penetrating this mask, it may help a little bit, but I would like to see that information.
So it's a one-way mask.
As of right now, it is, I would consider it a one-way mask.
Oh.
There are lots who disagree.
There has been a study done that says that it can lessen the viral load coming from you to me. Okay, so if you have a mask on, you're lessening your transmission, but then whatever does get through, it's not going to necessarily keep the virus out completely, but instead of getting a ton of it, you get half a ton.
Yeah, there seems to be a study on it, many different aspects of this. Obviously, I'm an outlier here, and I'm a proponent of personal responsibility. I'm at risk, I'm old, I have comorbidities, so I'm not young and healthy, but I try to stay away from people. I don't snuggle with people much anymore, so that's just my choice to do that. And as you pointed out, in Pittsburgh County and the city, that seems to have not been a bad strategy.
When it comes to social distancing, it's never a bad strategy.
And we keep reading new studies that say 6 feet's not enough. Should be 20 feet. But anyway, I appreciate your information.
Absolutely, and this is an ever-changing disease. We're always going to find out something new. The moment you hear a statistic, it's both premature and antiquated. So we'll kind of go from there.
Thanks much.
Thank you.
Did anybody on the line have any questions or comments? We're going to have Julie Montgomery from the Health Department come up and talk a little bit about it as well now.
Well, thank you very much. You kind of did my job for me. We briefed today at the Unified Command at the EOC, and just want to echo and support the statistics in what you're stating in regards to current COVID cases in the state of Oklahoma as well as in Pittsburgh County. And as you stated, we have seen almost a doubling of cases since June 14th. I would also just really like to echo and support Dr. Roloff and his comments in regards to the effectiveness of social distancing, the need for masks. And one point that he really brought up, and I think that we discussed this morning as part of a unified command, is the need for preparedness for future illness. We're about to go upon our flu season. And that we'll start reporting the number of cases of flu as well as deaths in September. That'll be our weekly report coming out from Flu View on OSDH. I think that will complicate the COVID situation. And then we're also about to see our schools reopening. And with the gathering of multiple individuals, I do have concerns about the spread of illness in the community. So would like to support the hospital statements as well as the position of the EOC that masks are important to spreading the illness or to mitigating the spread of illness in our community.
Mayor, this is Councilman Pritchard. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't hear the speaker very well.
Okay, could you pull that mic closer?
Closer, yeah. I
I'm-
can't hardly hear you.
I'm kind of short, I'm sorry. I was just saying that I was very much in support of the hospital statements in regards to the importance of masks and spread in mitigating the spread of illness. That it's going to be really important that we take measures as a community to prevent the spread of illness in our communities, especially with the flu season that is up and coming. We start reporting those in September. And it will also be important as we open up our schools and to assure a safe school environment for both the teachers and for the students. And that's kind of the end of my comments. Thank you.
Do you know if the schools are requiring masks? I know Eastern Oklahoma State is. I don't know if the public schools are or not.
Most of the universities in my district are requiring masks when on campus.
What about the high schools, the elementaries?
It depends upon the high school. We had multiple conversations with over 50 superintendents in the district, and they are making decisions based upon the ability to provide masks as well as their size and spacing within their school. Some of them are looking at staggered plans in returning students as well as distance learning for those who are immunocompromised or willing to come to school if their masks are not in place. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of what decisions are being made.
Okay, and I probably should ask this from the doctor, but do you know of any drawback to wearing a mask?
Not at this time. I don't have any research that supports any concerns regarding lack of oxygen. They've done some studies on that. And as just everyone's kind of pointed out, the research on this is changing minute by minute. So what we understand in regards to safety of masks as well as the spread of illness changes daily.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any comments or questions? All right, we'll move to agenda item number 2.
Kevin Enlow is here,
Uh,
emergency management.
Mr. Enlow, did you want to speak?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman Pritchard.
So hearing all that, I mean, that makes me think that we need to do something to increase mask wearing in our community. But I mean, what is that? What can we do to increase mask wearing?
We could
And when can we do it?
We could mandate wearing masks in public. We would have to write an ordinance to do it, and of course, we'd have to have a meeting to vote on it. But if the will of the council were to do that, I would call a special meeting in order to do that. I have no idea what that was, but I hope you're all right.
There's a 3-year-old. She's fine though. I'm kind of concerned, and I don't know if there's any data about this. I haven't found any, but I'm concerned that if we pass an ordinance, that it's going to cause people to not wear the mask just to defy the ordinance. I don't know how big that group of people is, but I worry that the mask wearing is already increasing in our community, and that we may actually just because we say to do it, people are going to not do it. I don't know if that's right, and I want to do whatever we can to increase the wearing of masks. I'm 100% on board with that, but I want to make sure that the policy we do enact, accomplishes that objective.
I can tell you that Tulsa's proposed ordinance is it's a $100 fine for your second infraction if you don't wear a mask.
You talking about Tulsa?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Smith?
I'm inclined to follow the state's lead on this. If it's really that serious, then I suspect the state will do something along these lines. I see enforcement as a huge problem. You know, we've got a police force that's undermanned right now, and I really don't see how they're going to enforce this. We have examples from cities like Guthrie who put such an ordinance in place, you know, a couple of months ago, and then had havoc afterwards and pulled it out because so many people were resisting. So I just, you know, we have good people in state government that are looking at this, and I don't see that every city has to put its own regulation for it. Now, if you're in a real hot spot like Tulsa or Oklahoma City, maybe that's different, but we're not. We haven't had a death here in months.
We'd like to keep it that way. Mr. Enlow? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Boatright.
Since this pandemic come out, we're one of the lowest counties with active cases that I've looked at on TV and wherever. But if we were to force these people to start to wear masks, why don't we ask them to wear one as a courtesy before we find out if we need to really go any further? Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't wear them even if we forced them to. But again, they're protecting themselves by wearing one. So they're just people that's hard-headed and they're not going to do it. So I'm going to ask, you know, that we either recommend that they wear one without making an ordinance to that effect at this time.
Okay. Mr. Enlow?
Kevin Enlow, Emergency Management.
Mayor,
Yes, who do I got?
Mayor, this is Councilman Stevens.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to kind of chime in with some thoughts as well. I have a hard time reasoning why we shouldn't be wearing masks right now, just with the reality of everything that we're learning and research and things like that. It's a very small sacrifice to pay, just to kind of keep COVID down and protect our neighbors and our community. I think some of my concerns though do vary on what Councilman Boatright said and Pritchard as well, that I'm fearful by doing this, at least with the conversations of people I've had in the public, that by trying to force something, we really could do more damage than good. So here's something that I would propose, just in the sense of just food for thought for the rest of us, is encouraging maybe businesses or communities to, you know, don masks for their employees, do things like that, and maybe have some kind of incentive for them to do that, and maybe help continue to drive it that way. It seems to be that it's going that direction. I certainly don't want to wait till we have high numbers in Pittsburgh County for that to happen. I don't want to do more harm than good trying to do good, is some of my fears. And maybe that's not the case, but that is some of my fears, because the reality of it is, if it continues to climb across our state and in our county as well, I'm fearful we're going to shut down our businesses again. I'm fearful what that's going to do to our economy and our people here, and that's not even underscoring what could happen to the health of our friends and our neighbors and our family members. I'm falling into the category that it could be more dangerous to me than some, so I'm certainly taking it more serious and trying to be wise. But at the same time, I think it's something to think about. Maybe we could do this a different way than trying to put our police force and make them do even more. So just food for thought. I'm definitely not opposed to a mask ordinance. Maybe we could do it in such a way that it would encourage people to do it, instead of, if you don't do it, you're going to get a fine.
Okay. I'm gonna give Mr. Enlow one more try.
So I will echo on behalf of the command staff for Pittsburgh County, who has worked this process day and night since the beginning of the pandemic here. Even before it hit in our county, even before it hit our state, we were working with federal and state partners and building plans and trying to move forward on how we would address this issue. It is ever evolving, like everybody said. I am not for shutting down businesses. I am not for losing revenue. The number one thing that we learn in emergency management, in a disaster situation, the single most important thing we can do is get our economy going and get our commerce flowing. But in this situation, we've had a shutdown. Now we're coming back into the rise, and we're seeing our cases climb. My suggestion would be that we get out in front of this thing and be proactive, and if it's an ordinance, or we just ask our citizens nicely, pretty please, will you wear your mask? If we can cut it by 50%, and we don't have to have the governor or the federal government coming in saying, these are what you're going to do, we're better for it. I would put it out there that we have had our first school-age death in the state of Oklahoma, 13-year-old child. What's the value of a child's life moving forward in this deal? If it's asking our people to wear a mask to save a life of a child, or to save the life of our grandparents, our moms, our dads, that's not too much to ask, in my opinion. So we're here in support of asking that the city look at what we can do moving forward to prevent the spread and not have to go through that whole government shutdown. We have to be the ones to, as the leaders of the community, to stand up and say, this is what's best for the multitudes, for all of the citizens, and not the 10% that want to argue and say, I'm not going to do it. You're going to have those that's not going to do it. I don't know what the answer is to that. There's a lot of folks out there that have enforcement things, different measures that they've done, that they've come up with. Maybe we reach out to them and get some of that information, or come up with our own plan. But I think that if we sit back and do nothing, we're not doing our citizens justice. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? We'll move on to agenda item number 2. Presentation and acceptance of McAllister Hydraulic Analysis Report performed by Infrastructure Solutions Group, LLC, for the City of McAllister.
Mayor, I don't know where the best place to put
Mayor, I'm gonna turn that projector on.
Okay.
Council, this Del,
Pull that microphone up.
I'm not so sure. How about that? Can everybody hear me?
Normal.
Good deal. I'm Dale Burke. I'm with Infrastructure Solutions Group. We also have with us tonight is Krista Watson. I don't think she's ever been to a council meeting. She sits right there. She's another one of our engineers that's out of McAllister, lives in the area, and of course everybody knows Robert Vaughn. Infrastructure Solutions Group was contracted to provide a detailed hydraulic model of the City of McAllister's transmission and distribution system. The model consisted of a lot of elements in the model itself, and it is just a mathematical model. So we modeled everything from 1-inch lines all the way up to your 30-inch lines. When we got done, the model indicated that we had almost 999,000 feet of line, which is 187 miles. If you went in and replaced all of that line, we estimated that it would be right around $100 million at least. Also in the model, we modeled in all of the residential meters we have in the area, and we estimate their demands. There's 7,365 commercial residential meters. We also modeled in the commercial meters, which was a little over 1,000. Also in the model, you do have wholesale buyers, and that's the rural water districts themselves. They have 17 meters throughout the system where they draw water from the distribution and transmission system itself. We did go get the actual usages and estimated an average for them and put that in the model itself. We also put the water towers. We got Skyline Tower, which is on the far north side of town. It's 1 million gallons. Buffalo Tower is where the old high school used to be, 450,000 gallons. And the Seminole Tower, which is 1 million gallons over on Seminole in near D Street. And the Industrial Park Tower is out by the Expo Center that mainly feeds the industrial park. It's 1 million gallons. On a different pressure plane, we have the Carl Albert Tower, which is out by the movie theaters, and it's 750,000. So all together, you got a total storage around 4.2 million gallons for the community. We also modeled in the high service pumps that's out at the plant that delivers the water to the entire system itself. We also have a couple of booster pumps in town. One of them is by the Kentucky Fried Chicken location. We call that the KFC booster station. And we have another one up in Kincaid Hills, which is the Summit Ridge booster station. We also modeled in all of the existing fire hydrants we have in the community, which is 915 hydrants. When we run the model, we look at 4 distinct conditions. The first one is peak demand. That's actually required from DEQ to look at if everybody used 1 gallon per minute per meter at the same time. That puts a pretty good load on the system when you do that. Average day simulates the extended period of time. We look at how the system operates over a time of 120 hours. We try to get a cycling effect to make sure that all the towers are cycling properly and your pumps are large enough. Max day is the same as the average day, except we look at it for 24 hours. We really look at that. So if you really have a hot day and a max usage out there, we want to make sure the system can provide water for 24 hours. And then fire flow. We look at fire flow at each hydrant that's out there and make sure that it does not push the system to a minimum pressure, which is 25 psi. A little bit about peak day. We make sure that system pressure maintains a 25 psi minimum, maximum of 133, so you don't overstress your piping that's out there. Peak demand is the only pressure requirement from DEQ. Average day, again, we make sure the system maintains 25 psi. We make sure that we don't overpressurize the system itself. We investigate how the system functions as far as the towers, pumps, and controls. And typical water usage is about 12% of peak demand. We use different type of patterns for residential versus commercial. If you go to the pattern on the left, when you go out and look at it, it gives you right at an average of 5,000 gallons a month. Max day is the same, except we double the flow. Fire flow requirements, we look at, and the requirement is 1,000 gallons per minute for each fire hydrant is in residential areas. It's 1,500 gallons a minute in commercial and school areas. And anytime you get 1,000 gallons a minute or 1,500 gallons a minute out of a fire plug, you want to make sure that the system pressure maintains 25 psi. Conditions of the existing system that we looked at, the results from the peak demand, we did not have any pressure issues in the system itself. On average day, we did show that we were having some low pressures out on Hardy Springs south of Fireside Street. That's out south of the Carl Albert Tower, if everybody knows where that is. All towers did cycle. However, the towers did not fill completely. Right now the controls are off of the Buffalo Tower, and when it fills, it quits calling for water, and the other towers are not full when that happens.
So when the Buffalo Tower doesn't fill completely, the others don't either?
When the Buffalo Tower fills completely and shuts off the plant pumps, the other towers are not full. It fills first.
Why is that?
It's because of the lines that's going to Buffalo Towers. We got a direct line going directly to Buffalo Tower, and it's only 450,000 gallons, so it fills a lot quicker than the rest of them.
So it's putting a stop to the other towers filling?
That's
when it
correct.
gets full?
That's correct.
How full are they? When that's caused?
I could look at the model, and I don't have it with me, but the other towers do not fill up. Besides
80,
Carl
90%,
Albert.
you think? Or
I'm gonna say probably at least 80 to 90%. Max day, the same conclusions came out, except for the capacities were a lot less than what they were on average day. Fire flow, throughout the system itself, we did not meet the volume, line size, or spacing requirements for fire flow. And the Summit Ridge booster station was not sized for fire flow, therefore any fire hydrants beyond that booster station does not meet the fire flow requirements. Existing system, this is the actual model from the water gyms itself. The water treatment plant is at the very top, right there. These two are your two transmission lines. One of the questions was asked to me on our last meeting was, if we lose one line, will the other line provide enough water for the city? And the answer to that is yes. So that's a good thing. We do have dual paths to the city itself. Skyline Tower is right there, Buffalo Tower, Seminole, and the Industrial Park Tower, and then
when we get that other source,
mm-hmm.
you follow, how will that tie in? Does it go just to the water plant?
It just goes to the water plant because we're all water. This here is potable water. Some of the pictures that we've taken over the years, this is up by Skyline Tower up on the north side of the system. As you can see, the pipe is actually laying on top of the ground, practically. That's a side view of the tower, and that T that we were showing there, that's a date of 1923. So that T's been in there 97 years at least. This is a line coming down off of the hill that's going down and helping supply the city with the water. And as you can see, that shiny thing you see there is actually a repair clamp. So at one time there was a leak right there on that line. Well, you can see it's exposed, and I don't know how it still survives with all the hunters that we got around. This is an old abandoned booster station that's on the 24-inch line that's going over to Skyline Tower. And believe it or not, the water does run through that booster station. The station is not operable. It's not required, but the piping is live. This is an example of just your typical line break. This line break here is actually the one we had on a Strong last year. As you can see, it's a ductile iron pipe. The leaking was underneath. Once we got that exposed and investigated it, we saw that the bottom of that pipe was paper thin. We put a temporary repair clamp on there, and the city staff came back in and replaced like 40 feet of that line. Most of the time you might think that, well, it's just a water line, you put a clamp on it and you move on down the road. That's actually Strong right there. We had to cut out a big section in Strong just to repair that clamp. So not only did you do the repair clamp, you had to fill that with gravel, compact it, pour concrete back, and everything else. So it's more than just go out and throw a clamp on it and move down the road. This is actually a pipe that we had a leak at the same time we had Strong over on D Street and Carl Albert. This was the pipe that we dug out of the ground and replaced. As you can see, that's about an 8-inch pipe. Through the center of the thing, we got about a 3-inch hole. Okay, we figured this is sandcast pipe, which is throughout the system itself, and I'm gonna say that pipe is nearly 100 years old, and that's the condition of the system that we have in McAllister.
Could you explain what that is that's inside that it's not corrosive?
It's just build up material, mineral deposits that grow on the side of the pipe.
That's what's in the water naturally.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is that steel pipe or galvanized?
That's actually a steel pipe. It's cast pipe. It's what we call sand cast. Back in the old days, okay, before they had ductile iron pipe.
Yeah, back in the old days, you had the galvanized pipe, and they would close up just like that right there.
Yeah, galvanized pipe will do the same thing, yes, sir. But this here is what we call a sand cast pipe. If you look at the thickness of the pipe on this side versus the thickness on this side, that's typical for a sand cast.
How old do you think that pipe is?
I'm gonna say it's 100 years old, and it's in use. Well, that one ain't, but the one it was attached to on both ends are. We replaced a section of pipe right there,
okay,
just south of Carl Albert on D Street.
Okay.
I think we replaced, Robert, 300 feet or so. Yeah, about half a block, about 150 feet there,
okay,
right there by the Sinclair station. So, after we got the results and we determined that we needed to make improvements to meet all of the regulations, we went back and we looked at Department of Commerce records, and what we have seen is McAllister really isn't growing. So we didn't put any growth factors on the new proposed system itself. The results of the improvements themselves, we have no pressure issues. Average day didn't have any pressure issues. All tanks did cycle, and we used the full capacity of all the towers. What we did there is we changed the controls, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And then we changed the pump sizes up at Kincaid to make sure it could provide fire flow. Max day, same results. Fire flow, we'll look at it in a minute, but we had to add 191, Krista? Huh? 181 fire hydrants throughout the city to meet the spacing requirements. and we had to change line size to get the proper volume in the fire hydrants themselves. And we already talked about the booster station had to be sized correctly. That's hard to see. Apologize. I got a map here of the same thing. Everything in red is where the improvements are required for either fire flow or maintenance. If you remember, last time I was at the council meeting, we talked about all of we met with the city staff and we went through the whole system as a whole and identified 19 most critical locations that needs to be taken a look at. Those are still in the model, along with more for the hydraulic model itself. If you look at those 26 red areas as far as the model goes, and we're just talking about the most critical items, okay? We're not talking about really what needs to happen. This is really what needs to happen first. We're talking about nearly $30 million. The items in blue were those same areas that we talked about earlier as far as maintenance goes. There's one area there that rose on the list for fire flow at item number 5. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but the thing we identified is some of our schools do not have proper fire flow around them or spacing as far as fire hydrants go. If you look at it and say, okay, we need to get this done in a timely manner, one of the things that I put together, and of course this is just a recommendation between me and Dalton Carlton, the city staff, is take advantage of the low interest rates we have right now and try to do as much as we think we can do in year 1, 2, and then have a phase 2 for years 3 and 4, and then a phase 3 for years 5 and 6. For years 1 and 2, projects 1 and 4, that Skyline Tower right up there at the top, and that's one of the main feeds coming into town. You actually got you got 3 main feeds. You got an 18-inch right here. This is a 16-inch, and then you got a 24-inch that goes over here around by the hospital. Okay. This particular line, we got an area right here that's real bad. They can't get in to repair it if it breaks. And if that 16-inch line breaks as they're trying to get in there to fix the line, it will drain the entire city. Hard to read, but right there is the controls, and that's where I talked about. We currently have the controls right now at Buffalo Tower. What we are proposing to do is change that to the Seminole Tower and put altitude valves on Skyline and Buffalo. That way we can utilize all of our storage. And that would all be encompassed in project number 1. Project number 2 is a 24-inch line I just talked about. Replacing it from the tower down. It's only logical that it really doesn't matter what you do in the town if you can't get the water to the town. Okay, so we are proposing to do the transmission lines, the main transmission lines that we have issues with that we know are old, get that first so we can get the water to the community itself before we start working on the community. That's a 24-inch line going over to Hickory and up to the Skyline Tower. The only line that we're not recommending to change as far as the first 4 is the line that goes to Talawanda Lake and goes around the lake. We feel like that we can wait on that line and take care of some other issues. But projects 1 through 4 would take care of your transmission issues. Projects 5, the high school itself is right there. As you can see, we had an upsize line here and we had an add line on this side to get proper fire flow to the high school. right now, we don't feel like there's proper fire flow to the school. You got Will Rogers and Pewterball down here. One thing the model did tell us right now, strong, is an 8-inch line to about right here, and then it's a 6-inch line all the way. If we did not do the model, we would probably just go in there and replace the line with an 8-inch and 6-inch line. The model showed us that entire line needs to be 12-inch. So if we would have went in and spent the money and done strong without the hydraulic model, it would not have given us fire flow at the schools. And these red dots that you see on the map itself, those are fire hydrants that we had to get proper spacing. That takes care of the schools that we have concerns with. And then this is just more of the transmission lines. This line here is the one that goes to Buffalo Tower. That's a 24-inch line going around the hospital. This is the line around the Votech. And those would be projects 5 through 11. 12 through 15, and as you can see, it's not focused on one area. It's all over the city. Okay, it's all over the city where we have issues. 16 through 18. As you can see, one of the last projects we do in year 1, 2, one we're proposing is a transmission line that goes over to Lake Talawanda. That's a 20-inch line. Once we get to that point, we got all the transmission lines replaced, and a lot of the fire flow issues, the safety around the schools, and everything else. Years 3 and 4, again, we're just focusing on trying to improve the safety of the community itself. Years 3 and 4, this is out by the south end of town. All of those need to be increased because of fire flow issues. 24, this is the industrial park. We do have some issues out at the industrial park also. They need some line increases. Years 5 and 6, once we get the water to the southern end of town, Kincaid addition out there. About the only thing we can see to do out there is just replace line with larger line, and that's actually projects 25 and 26. This is the line that goes up to the Mexican place out there by the four-leaf clover. That line needs to be bigger. One of the things that we always do is we always look at what will this do if we do something like this. It's hard to see, and I apologize. This top box here is for years 1 and 2. $20 million. Once you put your fees and everything on the thing, it's $21 million. The payment for that type of project is right around $84,000 a month. It's hard to see, but that's right at a $10, an average of $10 increase. Now I need to stress average because most communities will put the lower end a less increase and a more increase at the upper end for where people can afford it. Okay.
And increasing water rates.
And increasing the water rights, yes, sir. This here is a bank loan. I know the city has gotten loans in the past for 1.5. I don't know if that's still available on a project this big, but if you did get a loan through a bank at 1.5 at 20 years, it's around 1173. At the end of this six years, you're talking right at a $15 increase and a $17 increase. There's other ways of raising money for it. There's bonds, okay? So that's the model. Any questions? Or what are the questions?
How does the state of our city look compared to other cities that you've done? I mean, are we
Well,
comparable shape or?
Well,
relatively?
no, I mean, just the picture of that one pipe. You have a lot of pipe on the north part of McAllister. That's nothing but that sand cast. Okay, and every time you have a water leak and the pressure goes up or down, guess what comes out? It's all of that material deposit, mineral deposits come out, and that's where you get a lot of your brown water from. It ain't the only source, but it's a lot of the source. That pipe, if you set it out, out within a couple of days, all of that dries up and basically just turns to powder.
I worked for Lawley Plumbing for a number of years, so I saw it plenty of times. But I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just kind of wondering how we look compared to any other cities. Are we at the low end, high end, it's in the middle? Or I guess what I'm saying is everybody having the same problems that we're having?
Everybody has some degree of the same problem. The entire state of Oklahoma has aging infrastructure. Okay, every article you read, every journal you pick up, everything is we got to do something. We came in, we built all this infrastructure. Sewer lines are the same way. Okay, you got your water plants. It was built back in the 80s. Your wastewater plants. I mean, everything is getting old, and just to be quite honest, out of sight, out of mind. Just there was never a program out there to do the maintenance that I feel is required to keep a city of this size moving forward.
That's the same thing with the streets.
Same thing. But you can go fix the street, and the sewer line fails underneath it, or a water line blows out.
Yeah.
You just wasted that. You just wasted that money. One thing we try to do is we try to move the water lines outside from under the streets. If we ever put a new line in and we got the ability to, we'll put them outside the curbs. Sewer lines, you can't do that. You pretty much got to take it up and put it back in. There are some exceptions to the rule, but water lines, we try to get them out of the streets if we can, so that you don't tear up your streets once you put your money into the streets.
Any other questions or comments? All right,
This is Councilman Pritchard. These numbers are, I think you said this, but these are just water line. These aren't sewer line numbers as well, are they?
That's correct. These are just water lines, and I mean, these are only your most critical water lines. By no means, don't think that I'm standing up here and saying this is all you need to do, because it's not. This is only the critical items, just to get us back to square one.
Second question, why, if let's say we did this and we borrowed enough money to do it, why would we do it over a period of years? Like, why wouldn't we do it sooner than that?
Just the burden on your residents is how I see it. Your client, your customers. We did go heavy on year 1 and 2 on our recommendation there because of how low the interest rates are. I mean, they're record lows. They're 2.5%. You might even get them down below that. So, I mean, you can space it over 5, you can space it over 10, but it needs to be done.
The bulk of it was spaced over the first 2 years, though.
That's correct. 20 million of the 30 million was shown in the first 2 years. Yes, sir.
So when these things, after this 6-year program that we're looking at probably doing the same thing again with older pipes
Absolutely.
that are going to deteriorate.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We're only fixing the major problems, is what you're telling me.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're not fixing the system as a holistic review, of the system itself. We're only looking at those issues that are very critical right now to the town, to the city of McAllister. And that's all this is, and it's $30 million. Okay.
In this first 2 years, you've got a lot of projects up there. How close to staying on time with that many projects what's the reality of this?
Talking to city staff, we talked about breaking those projects up so that we can get more contractors involved. If we do a $120 million proper project, which we can do it, there's probably not two or three contractors in the nation.
Yeah, so you're
that
talking
would
about
tackle
getting
that.
several different contractors and letting them do parts of it.
Exactly.
It can all be going on at one time.
Just keep them rolling out, keep them going. Try not to flood the system, because all that's going to do is drive up the demand for contractors. And I like to, I mean, we got some good local contractors that can do a job. You know, like what we have here. Could they bid a $20 million job? I know a lot of them that could not.
Okay.
That's the reason I broke it off into two years versus one. We can get the engineering out. That's not the issue. The issue is the contractor side.
Councilman Smith?
This to me is a good example of why we need to do a strategic plan that looks at all of our needs. Water is obviously critical, but sewer is critical. Roads are critical. Economic development is critical. We've got a lot of things that we need to do, and we have a tendency to just, whatever the fire is right now, we tend to hop on that and let the other things kind of suck wind. So, you know, if we have a comprehensive strategic plan that looks at all the city's needs and how we can finance those needs, not just water, but we need to finance a lot of other things, I think we'd be in better shape rather than just focusing right now on one item and then letting the other stuff deteriorate even more. I appreciate your work.
You're welcome.
Any comments or questions from people on the line? I guess I need a motion and a second to accept this report. Motion, Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Corr, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're on to agenda item number 3, consider and act upon approval of a water rate increase for rural water districts and wholesale customers. And while Ms. Swift is coming up, I'll give a little background on this. We, in the Audit and Finance Committee, we noticed that we were getting odd numbers from our rural water sales from in the past years where they've fluctuated month to month. They were nearly flat every single month for the last 12 months. So we asked the city to look into that, and in doing so, we found out that we are actually selling our water to the rural water districts at a lower rate than it costs us to produce it. We are not allowed to do that because that is giving a service away, and our charter does not allow us to give a service away. So that's where the base of this came from. So now I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, Council and Mayor, previous to the meeting, I hand out or presented to you with some information. And right off the bat, as of today, we are selling our water rate to the rural water districts and wholesale customers at $3.79. And based on the information that we have, and we can go over that, we are recommending a rate increase up to $5.79 to begin August 1st through June 30th of 2021. according to the water and sewer cost calculation provided by Crawford and Associates. We provided the previous 2017 and 2018 cost analysis, and then Exhibits B was 2018 and 19, both indicating, like the mayor had said, that the cost per 1,000 gallons is much higher than what we are currently charging, or what we had previously a few weeks ago signed contracts for.
Councilman Smith?
Does that cost analysis include replacement costs and, upkeeping our system, or is it just a
No,
net cost of
that
producing the water?
is
So
the
it's
cost.
really understating what our
Yes.
true costs are.
Yes, it's taking our cost per our audited financials for the previous year, like 2019 or 18-19. It took our cost of those departments, like the utility office, utility maintenance.
And these rural water districts are often selling the water we provide them at a very cheap rate for 4, 5, 6 times
What we
we're
found
charging.
in a lot, we researched a lot of the rural water districts on the cost, and definitely much higher than than what we are selling it for. That's for sure.
The average was what, 17, 18, 19?
Yes,
$20
per yes.
per thousand?
Any questions, comments?
This is Councilman Pritchard.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Where she is, but I got Councilman Pritchard first.
Okay.
So, Councilman Pritchard, go ahead.
I'm curious, I asked city manager, I think he was going to ask the legal department, but do we have the authority under the existing contracts to modify these contracts?
Mr. Irvin, are you on the line? He doesn't seem to be, but my
Yes, I'm on the line, sorry.
okay. Did you hear Councilman Pritchard?
What we did? Yeah, I was just going to answer Councilman Pritchard's question. We do not have the authority to unilaterally modify them. What we did when this was brought to our attention, we immediately revoked the offer that was sent out with those contracts. I believe we had one contract that was signed, but we notified all the other rural water districts that we were rescinding that offer of contract and that they would be receiving a replacement in the near future. The one that it signed, I think, was Rural Water 16, and we have a severability clause that if some part of the contract is determined to be unconstitutional, void, improper, then it would be stricken and we could renegotiate it then. But no, we don't have the right to unilaterally rescind the contract. I think in years past what we did was we would send the contracts out, the rural water districts would sign them and send them back to the council for final approval. And for some reason, the council approved them and sent them out. And so as soon as it was brought to our attention that we were going to, that the council was going to be considering a change in the water rate, we notified all the recipients of the contracts who had not yet approved them that we were rescinding that offer and that they would receive a replacement offer. And I think we caught all but one. So with that being said, what do you advise we do on that one?
We actually
Well, I mean, you can, if we want to increase what? Sure. Obviously you can approach the rural water district and say, hey, the rate is miscalculated. We're either going to need to file a deck action to see if the court's going to void this contract, or you can agree to the change in the water rate and approach it that way. And then, of course, if the court says, no, we're not going to determine it void, then the council is protected because they've sought the court's relief. But I mean, we don't have acceptance to those other offers, so you're free to change the rate with regard to the other contracting rural water districts. And I would say the proactive thing to do is to file a deck action in the court to see if that is a void provision since we're selling at a loss, or to contact the Rural Water District 16 and see if they'll voluntarily amend the contract.
Here recently, we have,
I don't have any more questions.
received,
Okay. Go ahead.
here recently, we have received an additional one from, Rural Water 6. Has,
One from 5 too, because I put dropped mine in the Dropbox.
okay, we don't have 5.
Don't know where it is, but I put it in the Dropbox.
Okay. But so far, that's, just the 2 that we actually have that we've seen copies and have filed them with the city clerk.
What was the date on the,
I actually don't recall what the date was, I'm sorry.
okay.
Mayor, could you summarize what was just said? I couldn't hear it very well.
It was discussing how many contracts we have actually received. There was, Ms. Swift says that we have received 2, and it's Mr. Hensley, is that correct?
Henley.
Henley said that he has dropped his as well.
Yeah, I have our copy.
Well, the revocation was, and Ms. Swift was involved in sending out the revocation. And so if they were signed after the revocation or submitted after the revocation, I don't think you have a contract there.
Okay.
Yeah, ours was signed June the 11th. I dropped it in the Dropbox. Actually, I don't know when I got the revocation because it was sent out certified mail. I don't know the day I signed for it. You'd have to look and see. But I dropped it in the Dropbox, I think last Friday. And so it may have crossed. I don't know.
Okay.
My question is, when in the letter that I got, it says, it talks about, okay, I've been doing this for 20 years. We started out at 201, 1,000, and back then, and I assume the same thing now, is that we were paying basically based on your rate, based on the cost of producing the water. From what I read here, you're adding in now the cost of fire hydrants and maintaining the system, and that was not the way that it has ever been done. We just buy the water from y'all, and we do mark it up. We don't sell it at what we pay for it. We have to make money just like the city does. I'm assuming the city doesn't sell it to us for what it costs you to make it either. I wouldn't expect you to do that. So yeah, we do raise the price. I can tell you our bills are a lot less than the city bills, even though we buy the water from the city. It reads from the letter that I got that you're going to the increase is going to, and it's a 53% increase in the price. And it's going to include that infrastructure, the maintenance on the infrastructure in the city, the fire hydrants and other things that encompass the entire city. We've never had, that's never been included. What was included is if you did work on the plant, upgraded the plant, which we did several times over the years, you raised the rates to us, and you actually raised the rates to us at one time, and once that was paid off, you actually dropped them back down to the level, I don't know if it went down to what it was before, but we paid an increased rate till we satisfied that improvement in the water plant and our share of it, and then it dropped back down. It didn't always do that, just did it once. So are we changing that to get a 53% increase? Are we now paying for the rest of the infrastructure in the city?
At this time, we are raising the rate. Right now, we're charging about $1 per thousand under what it costs us to produce, okay? So our $3.79 that the most recent contract says is actually costing us what to produce, Sherry?
$4.79.
It's costed us $479 to produce that, and that's by our audited financial statements through Crawford and Associates.
Okay, is that, I'm just trying to get my head around, is that the water plant, the water, the water's generally free, I mean, it comes out of the city, so, but a cost for pumping the water to the plant, the chemicals that go into it, the labor that goes into that, the maintenance on the plant, and then it goes into the city system, and that's the cost there, not cost of fixing fire hydrants and repairing leaks and everything.
That's not the cost of repairing leaks or fire hydrants. That's for infrastructure, large infrastructure transmission lines, which you just saw a presentation requiring all of the transmission lines to be replaced in the city, along with all of the work that we have recently done, which is the 30-inch transmission line coming out of Lake McAllister that was put underground because of safety concerns. All of those type of improvements is what we're adding to the price of that water. So $1 of it is just to get us where we're just breaking even. That's no profit to the city. That's just our cost to produce the water and get it into the system. That other $1 is to start covering some of the costs of the improvements that we have made here recently. And then what we will be doing is we'll be adjusting that rate in the future as to all of the needs that are required in order to improve the lines, the transmission lines, which is part of you, that percentage of you, to get it into the main system of the city and then be able to get it out to the rural water districts.
Okay, and I can understand that. I don't know that I agree with that, but I can understand what you're saying.
Sure.
The transmission line is just, you gotta have it. If you don't fix it, you can't get water to the city.
But so
We're
do
just
you.
buying water from the city. I think, unless it's changed, we're the largest wholesale purchaser, our district is, of the city.
I believe so.
I think we are. We always have been traditionally. And I guess I'm just voicing my concern that we're paying, you gotta fix it, no matter what, they said you gotta fix it or you can't get water to the city, but we're just buying water that comes through the city, and that's I guess I object to paying for all that infrastructure ourselves, or whatever, you understand what I'm saying? I may not be verbally expressing myself well.
Now, just to be clear, you wouldn't be paying for that entire project yourselves. You would
I
just be paying,
understand.
you'd be
I
paying a
understand.
commensurate cost for
We're
the
not
amount
paying
that goes
20,
through
we're
it.
paying our
Yeah.
fair share.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just that it seems like I don't know how we got to the point of being $2 1,000 off over just a few years. I don't know how we got there.
Well, the last report we had was for the 17-18 year, and we had fallen behind, and then we had it redone here just recently over the last, I think, 6 weeks. That shows that we've even fallen further behind. And Jim, all of these numbers come off of our audited financial statements for the actual operating costs of the plant, the depreciation, all of that type of information. So it's numbers that are audited on an annual basis, and that's who generates it. Then we go to Crawford and Associates, who is one of the leaders in the industry for audited financial statements, to take our numbers and then be able to put what it costs based on the amount of water that we produce. So,
And I understand, I'm not disagreeing with it. It just seems like it really, this is a significant increase for us, a 53% increase, as I figured it. That's a significant increase to pass on to our customers. Are you gonna raise yours 53% into your customers in the city? It just seems like a large amount for us to have to deal with on a very short notice. I understand what you're saying. Can this be phased in over time so we can hit our people with, 50% increase in their water rates? Because we have to raise the rates too. You know, we can't, you know, I would be selling it at a loss. Just like you say that, you know, I understand what you're saying, I don't disagree, but, you know, it is a problem. I wish you'd consider doing something to help us out, you know. and
That's a
not-
determination of this council.
Pardon?
That's a determination of this council.
Well, I understand.
We have to
And
provide
that's who
the
I'm, that's
information.
who I'm talking to.
Sure, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Are there any questions or comments on the line?
This is Vice Mayor Stevens. I have a comment.
Go ahead.
This is why I said we shouldn't send it out. Because we were going to do this. Now we're in a situation where we're doubling rates almost on people. This isn't acceptable. We need to be better as a council. That's all I've got. Nothing constructive, just frustration. Because this is exactly why we shouldn't have done this in the way we did.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, I take a motion and a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Corey,
Mayor, what's the motion?
it is to approve the water rate increase for the rural water districts and wholesale customers.
But does that include the ones that have the signed agreements? Like, is it every water district or?
At this point in time, it would be every water district. I intend to make a motion after this to have the city attorneys put the process in place for a declaratory action to determine with the contracts that have been signed.
This is Joe Irvin. It would be one water rate for all the rural water districts. We'll sort out the contractual issues, but it would be one water rate for all water districts.
Did that answer your question, Councilman Pritchard?
It does. I'm sorry, and the rate is $5.79.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Cox,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. Mr. Irvin, is it would it be proper to make a motion to ask the city attorney to start the process for declaratory action on the signed contracts?
I don't know that that's necessarily covered by your agenda. What I would propose is that we reach out to the water districts and see what agreement we can obtain before you do it. And the cost of that deck action is going to be within the city manager's authority. I would imagine if I had to estimate, and let's say we have 3 defendants in that deck action, I'm still going to estimate it's going to be about $1,500, $2,000 tops to get that in front of the court. And so what I would suggest is that you just leave it where you've left it and let us reach out to the water districts and see what can be done amicably, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
We can always bring it back to the council if we're needing additional authority to proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're on to agenda item number 4. Consider an act upon accepting the bid amount of $559,247.60 from APAC Central Incorporated and authorize the mayor to sign the notice of award for a street overlay project. Mr. Carlton.
Mayor, Council, Dalton Carlton, Public Works Director for the City of McAllister.
Speak up.
Mayor, Council, Dalton Carlton for the Public Works Director for the City of McAllister. Recently, we put together an overlay project, and it's not going to be the worst streets in town. It's going to be savable streets so they don't get worse. And this is just a program that we wanted to kind of put together to kind of move forward with so we can start getting more streets in more presentable fashion. And by what we did is we went out to bid, and we put together, me and George Marcangeli and Tommy Hill, our streets foreman helped us with this. We drove every street in town, evaluated every street in town. So some of the streets that are going to be on this overlay project are going to be streets that aren't the worst streets, but they're the first ones to get overlaid to save the existing infrastructure that's there. It's the start of a good thing that we could have go in the future. And what we did was we put together them and we scaled all the streets. These are the minimum base work that we could go and overlay to save what we have. And by what we did is we identified the top 20. I got my list right here, and you should have it in your bracket. We identified the top 25 street blocks that we needed to put together. We did a tonnage on them, and we bid it out a total tonnage to get done. And we put it together to 25 identified streets, and they're anywhere from 2 to 3 inch overlays to save those sections. And when we put out the bid, we got 2 bids back. We got one bid in that's in your bracket for $648,000, $648,894, and we got one for $559,247. So we were able to bid out 5,212 tons of asphalt at roughly $105 a ton in that, in that range. And the good part about this is, if you break it down, our city crews cannot do 25 streets in a year. I mean, that would take all my crew, and we would get nothing else done in the street department. I mean, that would be all we could get done. It would take longer than a normal year to do this project. So by putting it out to bid, we got a tonnage price that was really reasonable with the economy right now to get that much streets covered. And so that's what I wanted to bring to council, the identified streets, and hopefully we can move forward. And this is something that I would like to try to put together every year as finances allowed, but this would be the start of a good deal. And this is what it takes to move where we could see a notice in town that the streets are getting done. When we could do 28 streets at a time for this kind of cost, you will see an impact in town over a couple year period of time. You'll start seeing the streets rejuvenated. You'll start seeing the improvements on your roads. But this is the start of that kind of process. So that's what I'd like to bring to you, the bids. You get the bid in there that we would like to award the bid to APAC, if y'all approve, for $559,247. They can get this project done in roughly about 30 to 45 days. That's incredibly fast to do that kind of tonnage on asphalt. And none of this project also is not a certain ward. This project was spread out into the entire town. So every ward has streets in this project. It's actually a good community project because it does affect every ward in the city of McAllister. And then that's what we want to do is every year, if we do these, so many streets that are identified in each ward, so everybody gets a piece of improvement.
Any questions, comments?
Mayor, this is Councilman Cox. I have a question.
Councilman Cox, go ahead.
Has anyone compared the streets that we're getting ready to overlay against the water study that we just accepted to make sure that we're not going to overlay a street that we're going to come back and tear up in a year or two?
Yes, sir, Councilman. We when we drove these streets, we identified these streets will have minimum impact on anything that is future done. That's why we drove every street and matched them up to our GIS mapping. So we're not going to do any negative impacts. To the least negative impacts to future progress and improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Boatright.
How many projects do you have scheduled? Overlays. I mean,
after this one,
on this money we're talking about spending
25 streets. There are
25
different identified areas of streets that are done.
Okay. How many do you know? How many is over in Ward 5?
I could break it down to it for you.
Roughly.
I'd have to look at the map. So probably 1/4 of them would probably be in there. 1/5 of them would be in there. Something of that nature.
Because I'm going to get questions.
Councilman Boatright, if you look at the second page from the end, they're listed in there.
Under agenda item number 4.
We try to evenly split them through every ward.
Well, I haven't quite learned how to go through this.
Yeah, that's how I figured
just read through it.
Help you out a little
Would
bit.
you like this one?
No, I'll go through it.
Okay.
I'll find it and go through it.
Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, Councilman Pritchett, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the 5-year CIP plan for this year, the most recent one. Which item is this on the CIP plan?
I don't have that currently in front of me. It would be under the street overlay program, which tends to be a part of either concrete panel replacement, street overlays, or miscellaneous. The way that the funding works for this project is we had $209,000 left over from the 2019-2020 calendar year for street overlays, and then we are adding an additional $350,000 out of our street project money for the total funding of this
City
project.
Manager, there's a line item which is street pavement prevention program. Is that what this is?
I would imagine so, yes, sir.
I don't see one for street overlay. I see the concrete panel repair, but I don't see one that actually says overlay.
That would probably be prevention.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I take a motion and a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Brown? Brown?
Councilman Brown, are you on the line?
Oh, yes. I couldn't hear.
Okay.
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
We are now on to agenda item number 5, consider and act upon a resolution to adopt the terms and conditions of the USDA Rural Development Community Facilities Grant in the amount of $9,700 and authorizing the city manager to sign and execute the agreement. Mr. Stasiak?
Mayor, members of the council, this is a $64,000 project that we discussed at the last council meeting and accepted. This is just authorizing the resolution and the grant agreements. To give you a brief understanding, this is a new roof for the J.I. Stipe Center. We were successful in receiving a grant in the amount of $9,700, and the city has allocated $55,000 in conjunction with this to replace that roof. We're excited about this project and ready to move forward. So staff recommends adoption of the resolution and the grant agreement.
Are there any questions or comments? I'd take a motion and a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. We're on to agenda item number 6. Consider and act upon an amendment to an ordinance of the city of McAllister to clarify the repair, replacement, maintenance of tin horns, etc. on commercial property.
Mayor Council, my name's Oliver Skimbaugh, I do the environmental projects. Well, we recently passed an ordinance to allow the city to install tin horns for residents. We had some interest from commercial properties to participate in our program. When we went to legal, we didn't really spell it out clearly, and this is an amendment to allow the maintenance and replacement of commercial properties, tin horns and driveways to fall solely on the commercial properties, where this ordinance only helps our residents.
So just to be clear, this would allow us to continue to help with the residences, but the businesses have to pay it themselves.
Yes, sir.
Right. Is there any, are there any questions or comments?
Councilman Stevens, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Will this be under Mr. Skimbo's purview on approving these permits?
I will be part of it, but it will actually go through the codes department and through all of engineering.
I'm sorry, I could not hear the answer. I apologize.
He
Can you
said,
repeat that?
yeah, he said that he would be part of it, but it would also go through codes and engineering.
Precisely.
Okay. Why does it have city manager or his designated representative for such a permit then?
As the positions change.
I don't.
Go ahead, Mr. Skimbo.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anybody's answers. I
Yeah,
apologize.
He didn't answer anything.
Guys, this is Stephanie. I'm very sorry to interrupt, but we need to make sure that all callers on the line have their phones muted. We're getting an immense amount of interruption on the line that's causing some audio issues.
So, yeah, Vice Mayor Stevens, he had not answered. He's preparing to answer now.
Okay, I apologize.
Per our ordinance, not every position is called out by the position title. It is, some of our employees are called out by name in ordinances. By wording it this way, this still allows the positions to form the roles that they are designed to be. We have been changing the ordinances to reflect titles rather than people's names.
Did you hear that?
I guess vaguely. I guess my concern is that we continuously see these ordinances here recently where we're changing or amending, charging more fees, and every time it's city manager or his designated representative. My fear is that we continuously do this, and I feel like our city manager should be running the city and not be involved into the day-to-day like this, even if it says or his designated representative. I'm not quite sure why we don't spell out exactly who it is, because it provides more clarity to the people that are having to apply for the permit as well.
Okay. Mr. Stasiak?
Councilman Stevens, this is City Manager Stasiak. The reason that it reads that way is because when we have turnover in a department, we have periods of time where positions are not filled. And during that time, if we have this situation arise, then somebody has to have the authority to move forward on that. And that's why it says city manager or his designee. So as long as Mr. Skimbo is here, we don't have a problem, but if he should move on to another job and we have a vacancy, then we've got a problem.
Can he make that decision without you then, Mr. Stasiak?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you wouldn't be involved in this day-to-day operation?
Absolutely not. And I'm okay with that.
I would hope so. I don't feel that, please don't take this personally, I don't feel that that's 100% probably true at times. I would like to see that our city staff is more empowered than this and allowing you to focus on bigger things.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions or comments? In that case, I take a motion in a second. Motion Councilman Smith, second Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Boatright,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Stevens,
No.
Cox,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes, and the motion carries. Excuse me.
Thank you.
We're on to agenda item number 7, consider and act upon an amendment to a professional service owner consultant agreement with the City of McAllister and Meshach and Associates LLC consultant. This amendment will serve as an extension of the original contract by providing additional funding, updating billing rates with similar scope of work. Mr. Skimbo, once again.
Mayor, Council, this motion is to extend the services of MESAC and Associates. The original contract is running out of funds. MESAC, toward the end of our year for our MS4 permitting, they help review our year-end report, and they help coordinate with the changes with DEQ and FERC and whoever else is involved in the agencies. The reason this is paramount to keep this agreement going is we are completing our 5-year, which is the end of our MS4 permitting, and we will be applying for a new permit this following year. On top of that, the state is also revamping the MS4 program, which MESAC will be available to help guide us through all the changes as they are part of the State Planning Commission.
Any questions or comments? I would take a motion and a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
We're on to agenda item number 8, consider and act upon an ordinance amending ordinance number 2656, which established the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for severability clause, and declaring an emergency. Ms. Swift, once again.
Okay. This motion is to consider and act upon, oh, hang on. Which one? Oh, sorry. Amending ordinance 2656 for the budget, the fiscal year 2019-20. This budget is necessary to cover the proposed revenue and expenditures above, which was not included in the budget for the fiscal year. No impact to our fund balances or a budget. It's a same amount expenditures as revenues here. Just moving some revenues toward the severance that we incurred over the last few months.
The retirees.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on this? I take a motion in a second to approve. Motion, Councilman Smith, second, Councilman Boatright. Any further discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox? Councilman Cox?
Yes. Sorry, I had a problem hearing you.
Brown?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. This has an emergency on it, so I need a motion and a second on the emergency. Motion, Councilman Smith. I will second it. Any discussion? Cora, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes. Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. We are on to agenda item number 9, discussion on the option of using ad valorem taxes to fund the City of McAllister Capital Improvement Plan. And Councilman Pritchard, I believe this one is yours.
Yeah, I have to put this on the agenda. If you look at the CIP plan that we adopted for this year, we had $10.4 million in expenses in that. We had only, I think, $3.4 million of appropriation set aside for that. A pretty significant deficit, and that's before we got this water proposal today in the CIP plan, I believe we outlaid about $5.3 million for water projects. And, you know, we're seeing today from this presentation that $5.3 million is not sufficient. We need significantly more money than that. At the same time, you know, I think we were already aware of our vulnerability to sales tax. The COVID-19 pandemic and the associated economic disruption has made that even more clear. And I don't know that this city has ever collected any ad valorem taxes to fund capital improvement programs. But I think now may be a good time to look at that as potentially a new revenue source, or potentially even you know, a way to lessen our current reliance on sales tax. I just wanted to bring in for the council and feedback and see if there's any interest in pursuing this type of strategy.
I did a lot of research on this, and I couldn't find capital improvement plans where it could be used, but I did find utilities. So, you know, for instance, the water issue that was shown tonight would qualify on it, but I wouldn't see where we could use a road. But I would definitely be interested in learning more about it, because I was before I did the research, I was of the opinion that cities could not do it, but Article 10 of the Constitution, the Oklahoma Constitution, allows it under 26, 27, 28, and 35, and then in Title 62 and Title 68 of the Oklahoma statutes, it also goes and refers to it once again. I don't know any other cities that do this, and so that gives me concern. I've got to call into the Oklahoma Municipal League to get information on it, and I haven't gotten the response yet. But I think if we can do it, of course it has to be by a vote of the people, and there's some instances, you know, it has if it can't be more than 5% of the value of property. And that takes a 60% vote, and if it was in certain circumstances it can be 10%, but it takes a 75% vote on that. But I'd like to, and I'm reaching out trying to find out from other cities if they've done it or why they haven't done it. But yeah, I definitely any more information you could bring on it, I'd very much like to hear.
I know the city of Oklahoma City has they passed back in, I want to say 2017, but that may be wrong, maybe 2007, a bond proposal that's financed by, by a property tax. I don't know of other cities that are doing it, but I know they definitely do it in Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
that's where I got this idea from. I have very few original ideas.
But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Anyone else have any comments or questions?
Mayor, Councilman Stevens, I would definitely be interested in hearing some more about this and how we could apply it and how we could accomplish some of it. I think that's definitely an avenue to explore with everything we have going on.
Yeah. So, I guess Councilman Pritchard, I could appreciate it if you could keep working on it and develop it out some more, and I will as well, and we can maybe share some information and get some more bones to it.
Okay. I'll keep working on it then.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, that's a discussion item only, so we will move on to new business. Do we have any new business, Mr. Stasiak?
We do not, Mayor.
In that case, we will go to the city manager's report.
Mayor, members of the council, I have quite a bit of good information for you tonight. Some good positive things that are happening for the city of McAllister, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with you. First of all, I want to talk about the unemployment here in Oklahoma. I think everybody's aware that we're at a 12.6% unemployment rate. We have stimulus packages that have been sent down from the federal government in the form of one-time payouts to families. Also, we have everybody that's on unemployment that's receiving an extra $600 a month. To make a long story short, our sales tax for the month of July that's actually booked in July, which we estimated to be 20% below last year's figure, is actually $352,000 over budget. That's a huge number. The stimulus package and the people on unemployment with that additional $600 are definitely out there spending their money. This is totally unanticipated. In addition to that, our use tax is $51,000 over budget for a total of $403,000 over budget for the month of July. Keep in mind that we did budget 20% reduction. We have taken some of that money and through our budgeting process, and we have invested that back into several employees who were on furlough that have come back this week. In addition to that, because we brought those people back, we wanted to make sure that they had the materials and supplies in order to do their jobs. So we have also allocated the necessary funds for materials and supplies into their departments. And we are also looking at some form of benefit that has been reduced to the other employees. So that's one part of it. In addition to that, last Thursday, we did receive the $1,250,413.93 from the CARES Act. We are in the final stages of outlining what we will be doing with those funds in conjunction to our furloughed employees, the materials and supplies to get those people back to work, and also looking at the benefits that have been reduced throughout the city. So we've been diligently working on that. The last letter that we sent all furloughed employees stated that they were on furlough until July 31st. I think we're going to be able to react to this a little bit quicker. Can't sit here and tell you we're going to get all furloughed employees back, but it's going to make a huge difference in the services, huge difference in our employees that are worried about their future, and also in the services that we can provide for our community and the safety of our community. So very, very exciting, positive things that are happening for the city right now. Also wanted to give you an update on our investment in the community. As you remember back when this was going on, the pandemic, and the council was looking for different ways to help our citizens and to help them get through this situation that we're all in through our stormwater fees, credit card fees, non-payment fees, and late fees. Through the end of June, we were able to reduce fees of $332,000 to our citizens and be able to put that money basically back in their pockets. Want to go over real quick the Plummer Engineering, which is our wastewater plants, which is identified as part of our comp plan moving forward. One of the main areas to get efficiencies out of our wastewater plants was the removal of the sludge in the wastewater basins to improve that plant efficiency. I'm very pleased to tell you that all 3 basins at the West Plant have been cleaned out, and they removed 1,272 yards of sludge out of those basins. That's basically 120 truckloads, dump truck loads. Huge amounts. I'm also very pleased to let you know that they have started on the East Plant as of today. So within the next couple of weeks, we will have cleaned out all of the aeration basins at both the East and the West Plant. I want to give you an update on the Coal Creek Pump Station. Once we got the sludge removed out of the wastewater plants, we were able to move over and get the sludge removed where all the pumps are in the cove out at the Coal Creek Pump Station. They removed 264 yards of sludge, 26 truckloads. Today, the pumps that had been removed and rebuilt were reinstalled back into the station today. And the last part of this process to get this plant back up and running is the electrical bid for the upgrades on the electrical system. Those bids will be ready on August the 25th to come to the council for approval. And we'll get that electrical work, and that Coal Creek pump station will be up and ready to run. So we're getting very, very close to the end here. Extremely proud of all the work by Infrastructure Solutions, Dalton Carlton, all of our employees and contractors who have pulled together here to get this station up and running. It's going to be a great addition to our community. I want to tell you about Pierce Avenue. I had said previously that we would be out of Pierce Avenue by July the 15th, which is tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't have that completed tomorrow, but we do anticipate doing the asphalt either this Thursday or Friday and buttoning this project up. So almost all of the concrete is completed, and they're getting ready to schedule the asphalt for later on this week. Be glad when that project is completed. Want to give you an update on the ODOT project and Highway 69. I was able to talk to an ODOT representative today. They have been down there for quite some time. This is phase 2. They've been down there for quite some time doing all of the utilities work along that highway. That's anticipated to be completed in August. They're anticipating bidding the project in October, awarding the bid in November, and construction to begin early 2021. This is a 16 to 18 month build, and this is the overpass that goes by Jimmy's Egg and Car-Mart. So that project is moving forward, and it's going to be here before we realize it. The last thing that I want to tell you, this is all very positive for our community. The last thing I want to tell you is we wrote an $80,000 project, grant project for Rotary Park and the walking trail, along with new outdoor exercise equipment. And I'm pleased to announce that we have tentatively received a $64,000 grant for the resurfacing of that entire track at Rotary Park and the installation of new outdoor exercise equipment. So great project for our community. It's the only thing that this in our community that this money qualified for. Stephanie, our grant writer, did an outstanding job on this, as she does on all of them. And another award and another grant coming to the city of McAllister. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Here.
Okay, remarks and inquiries by council. Councilman Smith? No. Vice Mayor Stevens?
Yes, Mr. Stasiak, could we have, I know that you talked about the CARES money and things like that. Could you email us what the criteria was for to, what we can spend that on and how we were able to get that accomplished? I saw some numbers of other cities and communities, and we seem to have gotten a lot more than other cities. So I'm curious to see what that looks like and what we can actually spend it on when you can, please.
Councilman Stevens, I can answer that right now. Because this is reimbursement money, it came with no direction, and we can use it on whatever the city needs are. It was a lot of reimbursement for payroll and benefits. And in conjunction with your comment about we received a tremendous amount more than other communities, you're absolutely correct. But I can tell you in the last 30 days, we did it right, and other communities have reached out to us, and you're going to see some pretty large reimbursements to other communities as we have educated them and taken the time to help them work through this process and better understand it. We backed everything up that we did with emails, with actual conversations with the people that are running these programs. And their comment to us was our reimbursement was outstanding, the documentation was outstanding, and they didn't have any questions whatsoever in the 507 pages that we gave them. So extremely proud of this team of our accounting department, grants department, everybody that was involved in this reimbursement. So there is no strings attached to this money, Councilman.
Okay, great. And then just lastly, I would encourage our citizens in this council and our community, we shouldn't have to make caring about our community, our health, our family, our friends, our neighbors, businesses, keeping people going, helping each other. We shouldn't have to encourage this all the time or make it a confrontational issue, but please let's not politicize everything that's going on in the world right now. Let's figure out a way to work together, and I would just encourage everybody to wear a mask if you can. Please do. It makes a difference, and we're seeing that more and more. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Councilman Cox?
Nothing, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
I have nothing.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Brown?
First of all, Mayor, I'd like to say welcome to Mr. Councilman Boatwright. Welcome aboard. You'll get a good education.
Thank you.
That puts you up.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I said thank you.
Was that all? Was that all?
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Boatwright, any comments?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for the first session here. This is a learning session for me, so I have learned quite a bit, and look forward to doing more projects and doing more oversee of what we want to do with our money and what we're going to do with each department, how we're going to handle the bring back of people. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilman Pritchard?
City Manager, that ODOT project that you talked about going out to bid, does that include the traffic signal at 14th Street?
That does not. That's the developer that is responsible for that traffic signal. So this is just the highway improvements that ODOT's doing. This is the overpass, which kind of completes the circulation for what we consider to be phase one.
When do you expect that 14th Street traffic signal to be built?
I think sometime after the first part of the year. I know that the developer is working closely with ODOT because ODOT has to approve it. I believe it's been approved, but they have to work in direct conjunction with ODOT. So I would say sometime right after the first of the year, that project will go into construction.
When another question for City Manager, when do you, if you do, anticipate having another offer or presentation from the police department or on the police department contract or the FOP contract?
We were able to meet with the FOP last Friday. We were not in a position to accept their offer. We did a tremendous amount of work showing them the additional costs that were associated with it. They are going back, they are putting together another proposal right now. They'll be going back to the FOP, to the, what do you call it?
Membership?
The membership. And based on whatever that discussion is, then we'll be scheduling another meeting, hopefully by the end of this week.
Okay. And then just last thing to comment. I think we should, as soon as possible, prepare a draft mask ordinance for COVID-19, post the notice and have a meeting as soon as possible, hopefully mid to late next week. Thank you.
Thank you. On that, I would encourage any council member that is interested in doing that to email the city manager's office, so we don't violate an open meeting, to kind of get a poll, because from the poll that, kind of the informal poll I took tonight, I think we're pretty evenly split on that. So I'd like to get everybody's opinion on it, and if they could just email the city manager, we can go from there to determine if it seems to be the will of the council. Mayor's comments, I want to welcome Councilman Boatright to the council. It's the first, I will tell you, probably the first 6 months is going to be a pretty big learning curve. But you know, anybody up here or on the phone that you ever, I mean, everybody's willing to help because everybody wants you to succeed, because if you succeed, the city succeeds. So we, you know, any help I can give, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I will do what I can. I want to congratulate Councilman Smith on being reelected. That was a tough campaign, and I also
landslide.
Yeah, and I'd also like to congratulate the two candidates that did not get elected. It takes a lot for someone to put their name out there, and it takes a lot of work, especially when you go into runoffs, because you're essentially doing two different elections, and it's really hard to do. And for someone to be willing to put their name out and take the slings and arrows that you take along with it, I commend them for it. Met with the Citizens Committee on Saturday evening at Hunter Park. We have a group of people up that are very motivated and very interested in making Hunter Park a more viable park for use. It currently has a lot of broken glass that's been there for 20 years, so there's an effort to clean that up. There's also, for people who don't know, Michael J. Hunter was a veteran, Army man from McAllister who was killed in Vietnam. In fact, he was the first McAllister citizen that was killed in Vietnam, and he was, I was told he was a medic, and he was killed actually trying to help someone. He received a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star for this as well. There is a monument up there. It's not in great shape, and there's a flagpole and a light, but the light's busted out. So I think the first thing that the citizen group is going to be working on is getting that taken care of. So if anybody hits you up, or if you see anybody that's working on it, there's the Hunter Park Project on Facebook. If you're interested in following along or getting involved, I would encourage everyone to go there. And then finally, I'm going back to the masks. You know, flat out, the science says masks help. I think, you know, to me, it's a no-brainer, but, you know, it's still, I don't get to make the rules. I only get to be part of the people that make the rules. So I would encourage everyone to wear a mask. I would encourage businesses to require a mask for people that come in, to protect your employees as well as the customers that do come in. So with that, we will recess the council meeting. I would take a motion to convene as McAllister Airport Authority. The motion to include approval of minutes from June 23rd, 2020 regular meeting of McAllister Airport Authority. Confirm action taken on City Council Agenda Item B, C, and to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. I would now take a motion to convene as McAllister Public Works Authority. Motion to include approval of minutes from June 23rd, 2020, regular meeting of McAllister Public Works Authority. Confirm action taken on City Council Agenda Item B, C, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith. I will second. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes, and the motion carries. I would now take a motion to adjourn. Motion, Councilman Smith. Second, Councilman Boatright. Any discussion? Corey, would you call the roll, please?
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
Boatright?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Pritchard?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes, and we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Welcome, BJ.
Welcome.
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 Thank you.